Hey everybody, it's Nigel Jenkins of Laughing Heart Music and LHM Records, and today my guests are Andrew Sannie and Alex Sannie of Winnipeg, Manitoba-based hip-hop group, the Lytics. These guys have had a ton of success on the synchronization licensing front with companies like Apple and Gymshark, and they shared a lot of really practical and actionable tips on how to prepare yourself to have more and better sync placement opportunities for your music. I hope you enjoy the chat. Record. Cool. All right, so Alex, Andrew, wanted to jump right into it with you guys. You've had a lot of luck on the sync front, and maybe the first question is, are you actively thinking about sync like when you're in the studio making music, or is that something that happens after the fact, once you've got a song recorded and you've identified that maybe it's got potential on that front?
I would like to think ideally you want a song to be as multi-purpose as possible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would have to think that that's always there. Like if you're making something and you're really into it, you can, maybe you're imagining a car in the background at some point, like, oh, this could work for this, or you're thinking this could be cool background in a movie, or this could be like it's funny. There's a bunch of different things that you see, I'm sure, at some point. And ideally, if it comes together right and it's received the right way, it can be used for that. But I think most people would have at least an idea of that being a possibility. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's also always important to just kind of remain business minded when you're thinking about your music. So like when it is completed, always thinking about like, where could this end up? Who should we connect with? Who needs to hear this? And sometimes if you have people close to the circle, like it wouldn't hurt to send it to them to just, what do you think of this? And they may have ideas about where it could go. A lot of the sync people we've worked with, they're just like, anytime you have anything, please send it our way so that we know of it. So I think it's just kind of like coming out of that process, just knowing that there is a possibility, if your goal is to make some money or monetize your music, there is a possibility of doing that, but you just keep it in mind and think about it. Who needs to hear it? That sort of thing.
So who are some of those people that you guys are regularly sending your music to? Like, who are they? What are their roles? Music supervisor or whatever. And how did you come to meet them in the first place?
Right. So I mean, we've kind of worked with a few different music supervisors. I mean, I don't know if we should say any names, just in case.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
But yeah, we've worked with a few different music supervisors, and we've kind of met them a few different ways, right? Like, I know one of our major placements, we met them kind of on a whim in Estonia.
Okay.
So we were there, we got invited to play some shows, and we played this show in was it like a record shop, Alex? Or
yeah, it was Villain the Vibes record shop in Estonia. And as soon as the set was done, she had kind of come over and just was talking, and she had her card out. Really nice person. I guess we're not using names. And yeah, she made sure she was really quick about it. She was like, saw the show, I like this show. Can I have some music to listen to? And is there any way, like, is there contact information? She was really quick about it.
Yeah.
So that was like in and out, 5 minutes, not even, because everybody was setting up, making sure the merch was ready so they could be signing stuff and selling stuff. So the thing that was interesting about that, it was so quick, so in and out. Which, if you want to tie it into your first question, I guess getting ready, making sure you have a product that's kind of accessible from the front end when you're putting it together. When somebody whose job it is to find that stuff is ready, like, it's not a long process. They're in, they're out, card in hand, and good to go. I'm sure she was off to the next, and I'm sure she probably checked a couple shows later that day. She ended up seeing our other show, but it was just, you wouldn't, if you were watching the whole thing on a security camera, you probably would. It was it was like a handoff. It was so quick,
right,
you
like,
you caught it. And out, ninja gas. So
and it was, man, with her, she was, she was on it, and then it was just like relationship building from there. Kept in touch, would reach out every few months, and she constantly was sending different opportunities. I think at the start we only landed like a few really, really small things. But it was just like, she was just, making the effort of staying in front of us, and we did the same thing. We just send stuff, when we had the chance or when something came up. And it just kind of grew to that point where she got a bigger opportunity with Apple that came across her desk, and we kind of kept in touch, and she knew us pretty well and knew our situation and knew our music really well. And it seemed like it was a fit, kind of going from, with a lot of these sync opportunities, it usually happens in stages. So you have like the getting past that first spot where they're like, okay, this could be suitable. And I'm sure there was tons of other tracks, and it was just kind of like in constant conversation with them until one day it just ended up online.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can speak to that Apple thing a little bit because I was involved at that time. But maybe rewinding a little bit, like when you made that connection, what were some of the content pieces or assets that you had ready that helped to facilitate that relationship growth? Because an important part of sync is having all of your sort of ducks in a row when those opportunities come up. So were there things that you had made in terms of different song formats, et cetera, that helped you to take advantage of that opportunity?
I know at that time, download cards, Andrew had gone out and got a bunch of download cards ready. So the fact that she was able to get the card in her hand, which could easily be like an analog, perfect analog would be like, a SoundCloud page or whatever it is, but something she can download. Like the fact that she had it, she could go out and download everything and kind of listen to it at her leisure. I know that helped her out. That helped out the situation pretty quickly, because we, up until that, like at that point, we're doing a little bit of vinyl, and CDs are, what's up with those. So so download cards were kind of like the hot idea at the minute, and it just so happens that we got that to her. But as far as a perfect analog, like I said, is if you can have that, like a Dropbox with a bunch of tracks ready. We also had that too at the time, because it just allowed us to have that one-stop shop for us. But we had some TV mastered versions of stuff ready to go in there as well. Not for the particular song that they ended up choosing, but the fact that we had a bunch of that stuff ready, those assets downloadable quick, at their own convenience, I think that really helped out. It's great to have your stuff streaming, like private SoundCloud pages and things, but I've heard it before, and in little conversations I've seen it. The fact that you can, streaming's great, but they need to be able to actually have that. People don't always have access to the internet. Let's say they're away at the cabin, and or whatever, and I'm sure there's another situation maybe that'll come up later, but a similar thing where having that download where they could play it off of their phone, because it actually lives on their phone now, off their computer, can bounce it out to so many other people. Especially these are people whose job it's their job to listen to music and find music, and they like to talk to each other and share it. And if they're both, you know, if they're both away from service, but they have it on that phone, that's a big deal. So
another thing, like with a lot of the people that work in that world, they have to move so quickly. They're competing with, who knows, like a big deal, like an Apple deal. There could be 5, 6, 7, 10, who knows, other people. Like I'm sure the team over at Apple, they just reach out to every single person that they know in that sync placement world. You have a song that fit this, right? Make sure the pool is as big as possible. So for an artist hoping to get that placement, like one of the most important things is to just be ready to work. Be ready to work. So if it's like, if someone says, hey, I have this placement, can you get me this music? It's literally like, if it's sitting in a folder or if it's on a download card, if it's, you know, easily accessible for them. And then you have all the other materials too, because some of those people do want your bio, they want your they want pictures, they want the whole thing. So if it's on a Dropbox, and you can send them a Dropbox link, and they have your TV masters and instrumental and everything they need, like it's almost best to just, here's everything I got for this record,
right?
And that way they don't even need to come back to you. You know, if Apple comes back and says, hey, this is in the top 3 or 4 selection, you know, we need the TV master. Because sometimes just like for them, you know, they're moving at such a fast pace, turnaround could be like half a day. You know, they don't want to wait around for you to send the next track, because in that time they might pick the next. Apple might have already picked the song, right? So you got to be quick, you got to be on it, have your shit ready to go.
A lot of hurry up and wait.
Right.
Like there's no time. Like this needs to be done yesterday, and you do it, and then it's quiet for like 3 days. And 4 days, and then it's like, okay, we're the next phase, need this right now. So the illusion could quickly become, oh, you know, I have some time, or you don't have time at all. But you know, to get to the next leg of the race, like there's zero time to get that. You might be there for a long time, you know, it might not be running for a minute, but you're doing that. And you know, at the very least, two other things. Metadata, we haven't been doing as much of that as we should, but from a lot of the sync placements that I've talked to and other artists that I know that do really good with sync, metadata is huge. So if you can get that embedded, for people who don't know, there's a lot of programs out there that allow you to actually embed track information into the file. So when they're listening to it, they can see your name, what genre or type of music you might classify that in. I found out from some artists a lot of artists that I work with, that's helped them out. And certain, because when it goes into some of these placement agencies or whatever, sync agencies, databases, they have to figure out where to put it. If it's already labeled, it's all boom, ready to queue up. So that helps them out a lot. And if you don't want to, the other part that I was going to say is, if you don't want to send them a giant file, at least make sure you have a giant file. You know what I mean? You don't have to send them everything, but make sure you have a copy of everything so that you can send them out a more condensed. If you're sure that it's one song that they need and you have like a couple different edits of that song, or then it's great if you can pull those from a zip file, zip that itself, and fire that off. So like Andrew said, they don't have to get back to you, but they're also not inundated with like, you know, 5 other versions of 5 other songs in there. So just think what would make it easier for them to pick you. What's the easiest way for them to pick you? What's the easiest way for them to want to work with you? And if you can kind of do that ahead, you can maybe anticipate a lot of the problems that you could potentially face. So.
Yeah, I think on the metadata front and connected to like people sharing stuff, really important thing I've been doing over the last number of years is making sure there's contact information, usually in like a comments section of the metadata. Huge. It's like my name, my email, my personal cell phone with the country code, in there, so that if it lands on somebody's desk sort of 3 stages beyond the person I sent it to, they can reach out to me or to the artist directly or whatever.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Country code. That was a good.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, you don't know where
know.
it's going to land, right? It could be in Estonia somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dope.
Yeah. What do you guys remember? I don't know if you can speak to this, but if you can, what, if anything, do you think impacted friction landing that iPhone commercial? Like, what were the things that played in favor of that song, if you recall any of that from that process? Or do you know? Was it just so behind the scenes?
You know what? I can't tell you from their end. Like, I know they like the energy of it,
right?
And I know they liked. I know they like the energy of it and kind of the pace of it. I can tell you from my end, and I'm sure Andrew can elaborate for himself. That song, particularly, like I wouldn't have picked that song to end up as placing for things, which is cool because I don't know what will always place. I don't know what an advertiser needs to execute their vision. But I do know that when we were recording that, we were excited. We had big smiles on our faces, and the first part of that, getting even the hook down before we finished all the verses and stuff, we were excited. Like, we left that room with this excitement and this, like, that's energy. Like, that's so much energy. And, even to backtrack all the way to your first question, then, that energy, that feeling, knowing that something great was happening there.
Yeah.
I think that translates to the end user, in this case, the advertiser or the average listener. And they're like, yo, we get it. Like, if the artist gets it, they really get it, then there's a higher chance that the end user is gonna get it. Because when we finished putting down that hook and rewrote it a couple times, worked on it, and nothing's mixed, nothing's mastered even close, but we walked out of that room with like, yo, that's nice. That's nice. So I think that hit with the sync agent, and I think it also hit with Apple, apparently. Yeah. I don't think, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then I think there's also, like, on the more like not technical side, but like, there's, with these placements, there's always certain things that they're just gonna ask you, like, especially, and it relates specifically to like people making electronic music, where pretty well the first thing they're gonna ask is like, is it samples? Yeah, are there any samples there? And like, Alex, being the producer, he's very careful about what he samples, or he'll even go as far as playing it out himself or playing it backwards and then chopping it up. And it's it's like doing that dance to make sure that, like, when they ask you, are there samples on this, you can say no. They always ask about who are all the partners involved. Like, for us, it was us and then you, Nigel.
Yeah.
So it's like very easy, very clean to be able to say, no, like, dealing with us and you're dealing with our label, which is basically, an extension of us anyways, right? So it's, and there's kind of, then they ask about lyrics, whose voices are on this, is it just your voices, so there's a lot of, like, those little things, when you get into that world, just knowing the answers, just like knowing off the top of your head exactly what those answers are. And then if you are the kind of band that's like, I want to get placed, just making sure that you have that stuff as clean and as clear as possible, so then
good point,
it's possible for you to get those.
Cool.
Very good point. That's actually that's a great point. There's way too often that and that question always comes up, I guess. Like Andrew said, from the beginning, that was something that we were thinking about, maybe for different reasons. But I'm sure there's so many artists right now that are it's got to be heartbreaking to get reached out to by a big company, and then they ask like, can I use this because of, and you're like, no, because of samples or whatever.
Right.
Take the time to get it right, and just remember, it doesn't end at it doesn't end at commercials or placements in movies. It actually goes all the way to, think about, you know, album sales, downloads. Somebody's coming for their money. If you don't do your due diligence and make sure that it's yours, somebody's going to come and take it from you if it's successful. So yeah, just put in the extra little bit of work and keep that stuff clean.
You know that group, The Verve?
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Yeah. Yeah. We studied that
It's the
case in law
worst.
school.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
That's a pretty good example of, you know, guys that just didn't think, or people that just didn't think it out, right? And you have your biggest song, you don't even play it at major festivals or shows. It belongs to the Rolling Stones.
And it was like, what Rolling Stone song was it even?
I don't know. It was a symphony playing a Rolling Stones tune that they sampled, right? I forget what Rolling Stones song it was, but yeah.
That's it, like that song. I remember hearing that song and thinking, I remember hearing that song like for the first time as a kid, and I was like, yo, this is really nice. Like, this is really, really nice.
Yeah.
And then you were hearing it everywhere. And like, huge band that you'll never really get to hear as much as you should, especially in the music industry. From my understanding, especially when you get on tour and you start spending some more time in Europe and other places, like you can make a career off one song.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about, but you can make a career off one song. I'm not saying you only have one song in your catalog. I mean, that one song can get you so many opportunities and have you touring 30 years later, but it's that one song that does it. And some people live very, very comfortable lives off of one song.
Yeah.
And if you finally get that one song and then the Rolling Stones comes and takes it away from you, I don't know, man. Jeez.
I mean, there's I'm not going to say their name, but there was one group in particular where we were talking to them about, I guess, their music. And one of the dudes in the group pretty much said that, like, till this day, he's making $1 million a year off of just syncs and, you know, whatever checks come in for the song. Like, and this is, I think this song probably came out like mid-90s. So
wow.
It's just
I
like,
don't. You have to private message me later and remind me of which.
I don't want to blow anyone's spot up. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, okay.
Was
I there for this conversation too?
What?
Was I there for this one?
Probably. I think so. Yeah.
Dang. You know what? That just goes to show you it happens way more than you think. Because we've talked to a lot of people, and I'm sure I can't pin down the exact person who you're talking about, but I'm sure that like there's like 5 or 6 names in my head that I'm like, oh, it can easily be that person. So yeah, get your stuff right so people don't come for your money.
Well, and that's an important part about like ownership too, right? And copyrights. Yeah. Like I hope you guys don't mind me saying this about our deal, but like I've licensed your record. Ultimately, at the end of the day, those rights revert back to you. You know what I mean? You still own all that stuff. And I think ownership is important. And that's why I structure my deals that way. Because, you know, for me, I don't want to just replicate the historical exploitative model that the industry has operated on. I like finding people like you, partnering with them, licensing the stuff, trying to work it. And then at the end of the day, you know, if friction ends up being a track that makes, you know, however much money a year forever, at the end of our term, all those rights go back to you guys and you're still making that money.
Well, and to speak on like our situation with you in particular, you know, as we're getting ready to work on newer projects and everything, getting back to work with you is not a hard thing to conceive. Do you know what I mean? Because we've had situations in the past where we've left going, oh, okay, no. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah.
there's more than that one act that has things go a certain way. So, and for younger artists, they might see it. Just realize that anybody that you're going to sign a contract with, anybody you're going to sign a deal with, just because they're like, oh yeah, you know, we want to work together in the future, that doesn't mean that you're going to work together in the future. If a lot of money comes up, like a lot of money comes up, and it's easier for them to just take it, don't be surprised if they take it. So make sure you know who you're working with and you can trust them from the beginning.
Yeah.
And don't sign anything that gives anybody extra leverage, because if it ever comes due, they'll use it.
Yeah.
So and I really respect that about working with you. Nice contracts, nice deal. It's good.
Well, the nice thing about it too is I feel like, you know, we met 2016 at the Junos. It was you and I,
Yeah.
Alex, right? At the bar back there, bumped into each other, had a conversation, ended up putting the record out. It was like 2 years after that, just had ongoing conversations. And I feel like sort of in the meantime, I've been growing. You guys have continued to grow. It's like, it's a nice partnership that way. And I hope that that's how all of my sort of artist relationships end up going. Right. And now I'm in a position where, you know, I'll be able to invest more in the project, and that feels great. And I wanted to talk about your guys' openness too, because I think it's an important thing to highlight and bring up. You know, because we've talked about the Apple deal, but you guys are also very cool to sign stuff, license stuff at the other end of the spectrum for small TV spots. It's like, you know, everything from I won't say the number, but you know, not an Apple deal up to an Apple deal. You'll consider it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, Andrew, you take a swing at this first. I'm sure you got something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of it is just like, well, for starters, I think a lot of artists, and like we even struggle with it, a lot of artists don't think of themselves as business people for whatever reason. Like being an artist, I think being an artist automatically makes you, like an artist that's trying to move their music and have people hear it, it automatically makes you a business person, right?
Right.
There's this like weird dichotomy for a lot of artists where they don't see themselves as business person or see themselves as marketing people. You're pretty much wearing every single hat, and so when you go into it, like in another life, working in marketing, it's just like every deal is a deal worth looking at. Doesn't mean taking, but it's worth looking at. And then even if the dollar amount isn't always that enticing, you got to think though, you know, say for example, one deal we recently worked on was for a French television show, right? So our music end up in a French television show. I wouldn't say we have like the brands in the French speaking world, right? So now we have opportunity to be exposed to them, even if it's just like a little backing track. I can't tell you how many times I've watched television and heard backing track and been, ooh, that sounds good, and Googled it.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's the kind of thing where like the dollar amount may not be as big, but like that business side of me says the prospect of gaining, even if it's one new French fan, is worth taking a little bit of a hit. Not even a hit. Like, you're gonna pay me money to put
Yeah.
Oh, sure. It's not huge, but it's at least gonna maybe gain me more fans, and it is something. So I think like that openness really just comes from being business minded. Like if you come at me with a business deal where there's an opportunity to make money, I'm always gonna look at it. You know, I'm gonna say yes, but I'm definitely gonna look at it.
Well, and to jump on that, even if it's for a good cause, you might want to look at it. You know what I mean? If it's you don't want to give your stuff away for free if you don't have to, but it's an investment. And one of the things that Andrew said that was really like so true is it's kind of funny how artists will, you know, they'll give a finger for exposure, and then at the same time to turn up their nose at certain opportunities because it doesn't pay seems kind of counterintuitive. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, this only pays $400, $500. Well, look at that another way. How many people are going to listen to it? How many people is it going to hit? Is that a group of people that you wouldn't normally have hit? Is it a group of people that are going to like your music that you wouldn't normally have hit? When you start to look at some of your metrics on social media and different downloads, and you start seeing things like Australia or Thailand or whatever, yada, yada, and like then you start seeing them kind of spike in different places, you have to wonder, how did it get out there? If you hadn't toured out there and, you know, you haven't been actively hitting that spot, how did your music get out there? So if a charitable organization only, they need it for free, but it's going to be seen a lot, you know, then do it. If it's a, you know, a German TV show, French TV show, an Italian TV show, if there's something doesn't look good, the money necessarily, but now you, like Andrew said, that exposure, this is something that you would do for free. Remember, you would do this for free. So if you're getting money for it, you double win, you know?
Yeah, two things. I love what you're saying about like taking opportunities because they create more opportunities. You know what I mean? There's like that exponential growth. You open one door for yourself, and now you're in with this person who has a whole network of other people and reaching new fans. And I really like what you said, Andrew, too, about like if I can make one new fan doing this, then it's worth it. I think that's such a good mentality approach. It's like, if this gets me one new person, that's sort of the slow incremental build that you need to have a sustainable career over 5, 10, 20 years.
100%.
There's this, I remember as one thing that Sally Tuna showed me was like, he takes every single fan so seriously, you know, and till this day, he can go anywhere and draw a crowd. And a lot of that, because like, and I'm not gonna, just being honest, right? Like, I mean, besides the Jurassic 5 music, I don't know a lot of Charlie Tuna music, just Charlie, I don't, right? So, but, and I bet you there's a lot of people that are maybe similar, but they know Charlie Tuna because last time I went to a Charlie Tuna show and the dude was smiling, and at the end of the show, end of every show, he used to go to the end of the stage and he'd sit on the stage. Like, he'd finish it, sit on the stage, and just sit there. And he'd sit there for an hour. And people would come up and he'd say hi. He'd sign stuff. He'd take pictures. He'd just talk to people for like an hour. And all those people, they built that relationship with them. They remember him. Next time he's in town, you better believe they're going to the show and they're coming with people. So it's almost just like, yeah, that one fan may not seem like a lot, but that one fan really does matter and could mean could make a huge difference for you next time you're in their city, you know, and not thinking so transactional too. Like, you know, it's not just about the transaction. Like, it's about building that community, and eventually that community could support you, right?
Everybody has brothers and sisters and family members and friends, and we don't know who those people are before we shake their hand or get to know them. But just think about how many different people recommend music to you on a daily basis, on a week. So, you know, listen, there's you know, again, no names, but you know, talking to a Grammy nominated mix engineer a while ago who literally came across our music because he was checking a podcast, or not a podcast, Spotify, after talking to some relatives that know our music. Do you know what I mean? So by the time we ended up talking to him, he's not only does he know all of our music, but he's actually like, he's naming off songs and like talking to us about them as somebody who actually knows a lot about what's going on. It's crazy to hear that, you know? So you don't know who knows what. Everybody has relatives. Everybody has friends. That one fan could be the most important one fan you don't even know existed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good story about that the band wouldn't mind me sharing. So one of the acts I managed from Halifax, Hillsburn, we were on tour out west, and they had a show in Red Deer that we had booked, and it's like a Wednesday night, and the venue turned out to be a little too big, and there might have been 20, 25, 30 people there tops. But one of those people was like a big promoter in the city who loved the band and who has brought them back 3 or 4 times now and has like worked his ass off to build the band's profile in that city and to always bring all of his people out and to put the band in the right venues with the right opening acts. It's like, that's just it. It doesn't need to be, like you said, Andrew, I think you put it really well. It doesn't need to be as transactional as that. But if you just meet everybody with like the kindness and the respect that you hope to get from others for yourself, things can go well for you.
You know what? I giggled to myself because giggled. Who says that? It's funny. You know, I truly believe, and this is like my own thing. Everything that they teach you by the time you're in grade 3, grade 4 is the 100% truth. And then we spend the rest of our days either moving away from that or coming back to that. But yeah, the smallest things. You need 8 hours of sleep. You know what I mean? Eat healthy food. Be nice to everybody. You don't know who it is. Treat people with respect. You know, don't steal from people. It's funny, but at the most micro level, I think everybody already has an idea of what they need to do in the music industry to have things work out for them and not create a ton of enemies. Whether you do it or you let yourself get convinced that, you know, there's little corners to be cut, we know. You learned it by the time you're in grade 3, grade 4. You know what you're supposed to do. So, you know, that's my biggest takeaway from a lot of this stuff, even. Anyways, side note, hopefully it helps, resonates with somebody.
Oh, sure it will. Andrew, it looked like you maybe wanted to jump in with something.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just building on what Alex said. Like, there's, you know, it's important to be a business, but then there's that other side, that artist side is also very important, you know, where it is still very much about the art. Like, even if we're talking dollars, at the end of the day, it's about the art and connecting with people. So, like, that can't be overlooked either.
Yeah. How do you guys make time for your own creative process? Because I know you both have other sort of jobs, projects, things on the go. How do you make that time for making music?
So far, if it's fun for you, then you're gonna make time. Like, somebody wants to sit down and watch TV for a couple hours, but it's more fun to make music, you're probably going to make music. You know what I mean? You're not necessarily going to cut taking a walk or getting some fresh air to make music, right? But you can easily cut rewatching a movie, or, you know, watching TV, or doing something that's not really that important. So if you can find a way, you can get creative with it. Another thing that I find personally, don't work on music when you're not feeling it.
Right.
Give yourself a little bit of time to maybe try and break through a little bit of a plateau if you can. But let's say if you add it up all on paper, you have a free like 10 hours over the course of a week. If you try to work on music 5 times that week and it just doesn't happen, don't worry about it. Like, come back the next week. Like, don't force anything. Work on stuff, but don't force anything, because you don't want to make yourself frustrated, and you don't want to take away the joy that you have from it. Because as long as this is fun for you, you will make time. You will find time when the places you least expect it, and it'll be way more rewarding. But yeah, don't force it, and don't make yourself homeless over it either. You know what I mean? Like, if you got to get some sleep so you can get up for work, then get the sleep and get up for work. You will have way more brain energy to think about music if you're not worried about looking for a job. You know what I mean? So like, these are the things that make sense for me, at least. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. I mean, it's just you got to enjoy the process. Enjoy making it is like the most important thing. at this point in my life, I don't think I really do anything I don't enjoy.
Right.
Like, it might be like a few friends I don't really enjoy anymore.
You can cut them too, though.
Yeah, I'm getting there slowly. But yeah, I don't think I do anything I don't enjoy, essentially.
On the flip side, I do a lot of things I don't enjoy.
Right.
But, you know, hopefully I don't have to do that for too much longer. You know, the goal is to not do things that you don't enjoy, just like you said. As far as friends that you don't enjoy, interestingly enough, that goes musically too.
Right.
You know, you'll notice when you start off making music that there's a lot of people around, and there's a lot of people who want to do this like you and potentially with you. You know, you might just act like if you want this to be a career, act like it's a career. Meaning, think twice about that song that you might be recording with that other dude. You know what I mean? Like, what is the song about?
Right.
How, you know what I mean? You don't have to bury a bunch of bad music because that you didn't even really want to make. So just think about this long term from the beginning. If you're gonna do that, it'll help you to make a lot of way better decisions. You know what I mean?
I'm also joking about the so.
Yeah, no, but
I'm half joking about the friends. So.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, I think
got friends I don't like.
I think it's true of a lot of things, though, that like there's a bunch of stuff that you have to do that maybe you don't like or enjoy as much to get to do the thing that you love. Whether that's the recording process for some artists or the performing or whatever. Like, there's a lot of admin work, web design, going to photo shoots, you know, writing grants.
Even that stuff, for me, it's like, I actually, when I think about it and I stop and I think about it, I actually do love that stuff. Like, it's getting me to do the thing that I really want. I love doing, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's moments touring where I'm just like, I don't know if I really want to go on tour, be on this tour or whatever. And then you're knee deep in it and you're like, actually, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Like, I can't think of a better place than being in this like musty bathroom or musty, you know, changing room.
Yeah.
No, like this is fun. I could be doing worse things. So
yeah. We have sorry, somebody keeps trying to call here. I've been working on a project for the last take a hint, come on. I've been working on a project just building up you know, my kind of studio space, so make it easier for us to do music. I've been doing that for like almost a couple of years now, and I'm just finishing that up. So, you know, back to Andrew's point, like you saying, you know, there's a lot of stuff that he, you know, he finds he even still enjoys. I can agree with him when I look at the whole project. At the end, now that it's finishing up, and when I'm like, you know, test running some stuff, that's fun for me.
Right.
Everything else about building this room has been terrible, and I hate it, and it's been expensive. But the reason why I'm saying how much I hate it and how terrible it was is because I appreciate it now that it's come to an end, because the value that it's going to add to my life and the rest of the guys' life, everybody's life, is incalculable. Damn, whatever. You can't put a number on it. You can't. That freedom to be able to create whenever you want is huge. So I'm really I'm excited about that. And I guess the reason why I'm saying that is sometimes in a quiet moment you really appreciate, you know, and enjoy all that stuff that helps to bring you what you enjoy, like what Andrew was saying. Or sometimes in a quiet moment you realize that you've hated every second of what you've had to do, but in the end it's worth it. So either way, however you look at it, it's that end goal, which is, you know, that's the one that you actually want, right?
Cool. Well, I think that's a good like note to maybe leave the conversation on. I don't want to keep you guys too much more this morning. I'm sure you've got things to get to, but thanks so much for like making the time to have a conversation, connecting.
You know what? Sorry, before we go, there was one thing that I wanted to say. with the whole thing as far as, you know, getting those placements and stuff. Our first placement we got while we were in an elevator. Do you know what I mean? Our placement, the Apple one that we're talking about, that happened right off stage in Estonia, in a record store in Estonia.
Yeah.
Our deal with Converse that turned into like a whole bunch of stuff that actually started off as an entry into rubber tracks.
Yeah.
So I guess all I wanted to leave this whole thing is opportunities come via email, opportunities come in elevators, opportunities come on the side of the stage from somebody you wouldn't expect to see in the crowd. They can come absolutely anywhere at any time. So if you're ready for them and you look for them and you're open to them when they do come, they will be there. Just try and get ready ahead of time, because I can't tell you where they're going to come from, but they will come if you make yourself open for them, and you do that by being ready. Make a good product that you believe in, and just do the damn thing. You'll be fine. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, guys. I'm going to stop the recording, and we can jump off unofficially after that. But it was awesome connecting with you, and I'll be chatting to you real soon.
Yeah, definitely.
All
See you,
right.
man. Hopefully it works.